Hello there and welcome to my YouTube channel, Julie McNeil Crafts. So today I wanted to introduce you to this stamp set. I actually got snuck onto the website a little while ago, and it's also been on Hachanda, but it hasn't really been shown in its full glory as how it was intended. This really is an incredibly versatile stamp set, and so I wanted to play with it with you just to give you a little bit of an idea of what this can do. So when I originally drew this, I drew this as a tree, and then when it comes to designing stamp sets, you can't fit everything that you draw onto one stamp set. You have to pick and choose. So I liked the tree, but I would also have liked a hot air balloon, and then I thought, well, actually that could be a hot air balloon as well because it's the right shape. So let's pull it apart and we'll get more out of it. So these are just a couple of the ideas that I have come up with, but I'm sure once you kind of maybe see it as, look, this is building blocks. This is a bit like if somebody was to give somebody bricks, then they build the house, they build the masterpiece. Not the person who made the bricks, the person that put them together in their own unique creation. That's what this is. This is building blocks, it's the basics, but taken away and played with and built with, you create the masterpiece. So with a little bit of a masking technique, we now have a tree, a really quirky looking tree. So that is one idea that I came up with. I've not coloured any of these, but we'll do this. Also, like hanging lantern that I thought, or bauble, something like that. So again, what we've done here is that we have used this main element and this, both of these actually, these little doodles there, and now we've created a little lantern in a night sky. Then we've got our quirky little hot air balloon. So I deliberately put the cross hatching in so that you could do that in the heart. I've kind of overstamped that, not overly well, because I was just sort of quickly putting it together to give ideas. And of course, excuse that because I ended up using that as a cleaning thing, but it can also just be used as a really cool background stamp to do something with. So I just wanted to give you a bit more of an introduction because it can look a little bit random. While it was on the TV, one of the presenters said she saw a pumpkin at Cinderella's castle, so absolutely all you would need is two circles there and you've got like a pumpkin carriage. Which you've got a circle there actually that you could use. So the world is your oyster. Have a play and see what you think. I am going to do some watercolour effects right now, and I am going to play with the lantern idea. Actually, before I do the lantern, I'm going to build a tree. Let's look at some stamping techniques and how this works. The main technique that makes this work is a masking technique. So all I've done is I have stamped out the main circle on plain old copier paper, and what I tend to do is use a two-way glue pen. I quite often like using the Crafter's Companion spray, that happens to be downstairs right now, but this is a Zig 2-in-1 pen. So actually it could maybe be done with redoing, so I'm just going to scribble on that, and then when you allow that to dry a second it becomes a repositionable glue. So I am just going to grab an ink pad. This StazOn one hasn't been working overly well for me in the past few minutes, so I'm just going to grab my Jane Davenport Squid ink, which I like in that it's a hybrid ink, so it will work with both your alcohol markers and your watercolours, which is awesome. So I'm going to stamp that down first. Now, because I originally drew this as a tree, you will notice that you can tell the difference between the top and the bottom. So the top has this little swirl, and just there is where the stalk of the tree was, and then I actually filled in that little bottom circle part, but I decided to keep that in. Now the reason being, that now becomes, I mean it's just a fancy swirl, but it now becomes a marker. So if I put that down, okay, so now because I literally just pulled this apart, this flower here is the exact same size as those leaves. So if we match up to that flower, and then also that curve there is the top curve of your branch or the trunk of the tree, and so that's your marker for lining that up. So if I am just going to move it till, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's not perfect, to be honest, because at the minute we're stamping over that copier paper, so if it's not perfectly straight, that's okay. But it just gives you an idea of where the tree should go. And I've ended up doing a bit of a squint tree, but that's okay. While I'm at it, let's add some clouds. Actually, I might just end up painting this one. Let's see. Okay, so I'll add some clouds to this, like so. And then we could have, we've got these little swirly bits. Now we could just have that as random swirly grass. So bear with me, this is going to look rather strange at this current moment in time. But also, if you've got my under the sea stamps or things like that, these are just an added little swirl that could be added to that. Okay, so I'm just going to do that there, and then we've also got the swirly one, which has just decided to escape me for the moment. Under my other ink pad. So we've also got this one that has got the bigger the bigger circle part to it. So we could. So this is maybe looking a bit of a hot mess now, but that's okay, because what we will do is let's just chop this down first, and then we'll reveal when we remove the masking. Okay, so now that we've cut that down, that makes a little bit more sense. So let's grab some watercolours and we can fill some of this in. Now I'm going to use my Echolines on this occasion, and we can have a play. I've just literally tidied up my desk and I've already made a complete mess just by making, and not even one completed make, 2 half makes. I apologise again for my squeaky chair as well. So I am just going to grab some of my Echolines. My tree is a bit squint, but I'm sure you can forgive me that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a teal colour and a yellow and maybe a pink and a slightly darker pink, and we'll see how we go with that. That's our primary colours, so that should be enough for us to have a play with. I am just going to grab some clear water, so I'm just going to do a very, very loose painterly effect. I'm going to start off, maybe let's get some of those greens down. So I'm literally just scribbling from my pens onto this mat, and that is going to be my palette. That's quite blue. Okay, I like that one, that's a bit more tealy. I tend to like making greens out of yellow and teal. I think it gives a much more natural blend. For some reason, I just like it. So I am not even thinking about doing a masterpiece here. I am literally just going to be throwing colour at this. That's not real grass, it's not a real tree. We're talking a suggestion of it. So yeah, I'm just basically trying to add a bit of colour to the page, just to add a bit of life to that. So I do like making my greens like that. That's just it's fun. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry a little bit, and let's get that similar colour into the actual tree part itself. So with watercolour, it's never going to go further than where the water is, so I'm just putting a little bit of water down first. That's going to give us our movement. I might actually just go on directly with the pen, just to, why not? I've not really tried that before. Like so, and then I might just bring in some more. So I've got that yellow down, like so, and what I'm going to do is just, let's add tiny touches, oh, actually says that's quite bold, but tiny touches of that, the teal. And actually, I mean, I don't have to, I probably do it in different ways on different occasions, but I'm kind of sort of following the lines of of the quirky balloon. The idea for this came, I had when we were little, our bedroom, we had a sort of one of these sort of paper globe lampshade things, and I don't know, I was thinking about that one day and I was like, oh, that would make quite a cool tree shape, and it was a bit different. It's like, yeah, because you can get that kind of hot air balloon look, but with a tree, and yeah, I was just feeling a bit quirky, and then I thought, well, why not, let's make this stamp set so it does all of those things for us. So yeah, I'm adding the blue into those shadow areas, but I'm sure you can see that that creates the most beautiful green there. Now for the stock part, I am going to, let's just play with the 3 colours. I'm always going on and on about how you don't need lots of colours, you only need your primary colours. So if we mix magenta and yellow and blue, we will get brown. So at that moment in time we've not got brown, we've got more of a slate grey. So that means that the yellow and the blue have become more predominant in that. So we need to bring in more of the magenta to get it. So now it's looking quite purpley. So let's add a bit of the yellow and see how we go. So, yep. It's getting there. It's fighting me today. It's fighting me. I'm going to try a truer magenta, because actually I'd got the paler one there. So let's see what happens when we try a true. So here we go. True magenta now, and now we've got a sort of more of a browny colour, and we can just pop that in there like so. Now, to be honest, that colour is boring me somewhat. Got a nice brown, but it's a bit boring. So I think I will spice it up a bit with a bit more pink, just because I can. Okay, I'm going to bring a pinkier tone into that, because it was just boring me, but it just shows, there you go, we made our brown really easy just by mixing those colours together. So I think that's quite good, especially if you're starting out and you see everybody using all these fabulous products, and it's like, oh no, I want it all. And believe me, that is me, I do want it all. It is a way of sort of getting yourself started. Treat yourself to the primary colours of something that you're fancying. And I've honestly done everything like that. When I started out with my Distress inks, when I started out with my oxides, when I started out with my Spectrum Noir sparkles, I always started off with getting myself the primary colours. And then I would decide from that whether I liked a product or not, and then from there I would either go on to buy more or just leave it. So that is definitely how I shop. Right, this is going to sort of probably blend together a bit now, but that's okay. It's because I've not let things dry in between, but to be honest, I'm having such a jolly old time, I can't really be bothered. I can't really be bothered. And this is not a fine art painting, it's a very loose painting. If it all bleeds and everything, that's fine. It's the look of it. And then probably what I will be doing anyway is sort of adding splatters over it just to kind of continue that effect. So I'm just very loosely putting in some blue. I'm going to put a bit of extra water around the edges so that we've got a more of a natural fade out. And that is how that is looking so far. As I said, I think I'm going to... The advantage of these being pens is that we can just go on and be a bit more specific if we want to. So I think I will do that. Right, and then I can just move that with an almost dry brush now, but it's damp enough that it's moving it and it's just causing it to blend ever so slightly. So I think I'm just going to blatter this with my heat gun for a stage so that I can start fiddling about now with some of the other little twirly whirly bits. Okay, so I'm now just going to work on those little flowers. I do apologise for my squeaky chair, it's driving me insane. I feel like I'm apologising for it in every single video. But okay, so I am just going, oops, I dropped a bit of water there. Okay, I'm just going to pop some water over the little floral elements now, and let's get started on those. So I'm going to use my brighter pink and the yellow. And I'm just going to grab the colour and just literally I'm dotting it in the centre and just letting the water do the work. This thing, you really don't need to be scared of watercolours at all. It will not move further than the water is. And the great thing about watercolours and this technique is you just add water, as we've seen. I'm just maybe getting a bit carried away. I'm trying to show it to you and adding a bit too much. And then you put in the colour and the colour spreads and you just let the colour do its own thing. And naturally, by letting the colour do its own thing, you will end up with different tones. You will end up with darker puddles and lighter puddles, and then we get that multi-tonal look, which always looks really good and really arty. And you know, if you struggle with your colouring or you struggle with your artwork, it's just a really easy way of getting that as I said, that multi-tonal look. And now I can either grab some yellow from the palette or I could use the pen. I'm just literally going to grab some of that yellow now, and I'm going to go slightly over just the little dot, and again, because that will bleed into those leaves in different ways, or the florals, we're going to get again that multi-tonal look. We're going to, so all the petals are going to look different, and yeah, it's just going to add to the look. So some of the pink has bled over onto the trees, and that's alright. Absolutely fine. So I'm just going to add some pink elements to some of these dots and swirls and bits that we've got going on here. And as I said, now this wasn't designed as a grass stamp, it was just a twiddly little swirl, just to sort of match the tree, and that's all. That's the reason it was in there. But it has sort of given it the suggestion of grass. So that's what I'm saying about, I always like stamps that I can sort of do my own things with, that I can start to you know, be creative, to put my mark on it. And I'm hoping that these stamps will allow you to do that. It's almost like they're deconstructed a little bit. It's like a deconstructed element. Now I'm just wiggling pink in because I can. But I think that's what's really nice about watercolours. You can have lots of different colours. I think that looks really nice. And actually, now I've done that, I'm going to put an ever so slight pink shading. Like I've really barely got anything on my brush there at all. I'm just going to put an ever so slight pink shading on my clouds. Because why wouldn't you? I fancy it. Do what I want. And so really quickly, we've managed to put together an incredibly quirky looking scene. So I am going to take this darker blue now, and I'm going to add that to these leaves. Now the water sort of ran out on these leaves, so I'll just put it in the like crevices of it, and then I'm going to take a wet brush and pull that out. Now I've deliberately gone for that slightly darker blue to the other one, just so that we're going to get a different shade. I'm going to add the yellow to it as well, so that we do have the green, but it's just going to give me a different shade of green to the tree that's in the background, which is just going to add a little bit of interest really. Just makes it a bit more interesting. Now in hindsight, I'm kind of wishing I'd gone for blue or green for the trunk of the tree, because I'm not overly loving it, to be honest, but that's fine. It'll be alright. Maybe I'll put some yellow in it, make it more orange. We'll see. Or I'll just put some white doodly pen in it. That quite often happens. So yeah, I'm adding that yellow. It's actually bringing it more back to brown, which is not surprising considering the three primary colours, and it's kind of me kind of telling you what I'm always telling you and then going against it. Okay, so that is that pretty much done. All I'm going to do now is, with the leftover paint that's on my palette, I'm just going to get a load of water. Let's take the greens and I'm going to splatter those up. And it's just going to give that idea of that grass and green blowing up. Let's get some of the blue on there as well. I might actually activate a bit more of the pink just because I can. Okay. And yeah, let's do a bit of the pink. As well. Yeah, pretty. Okay, and there we go. We've got a nice little, very quirky garden scene. So what I'm going to do now is maybe take myself off camera. I'm going to colour the other ones that I've stamped up, and then I'll show you them all together. Okay, so I've done a few more. That was the one that we did together, and then I've done the little hot air balloon there, and then I have done this one with lanterns, but as the way I've coloured it up, you can totally see pumpkins there, so they could also be pumpkins, and as I said, I think they could make quite a quirky Cinderella carriage as well, so I'll maybe work on how I can do that from this one stamp set without bringing anything else in. But this was just an idea of the type of things that you can do with this. So this is available on my shop for £8.99. I offer free postage in the UK, and it's £5 for international postage. Or you can find it on Hochanda. On Hochanda it will be part of a pick and mix, so it's still £8.99, but it's 2 stamps for £7.98, I think it is. So you'd have to have the 2. But there's stock on both at this moment on time, but Hochanda I've got the higher stock, so if you want it from me, you might need to get in fairly quickly. But yeah, it was just to give you a little bit more of an idea of what that stamp set was all about. If there's any, like if these either of these two you're like, oh, I wish you'd painted that one and not the tree, just let me know, because I can redo it again sometime and paint it with you. Anyway, if you have enjoyed it here, please do consider liking and subscribing, and I'll be back again very soon. Okay, take care then, and goodbye.